small group of undecideds. Councillor John Campbell is in that camp. He represents Etobicoke Centre. He joins us now to talk about what it'll take to tip the scales between now and next week when Council meets to decide the fate of the Gardiner. Hello, John.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
Nice to meet you. This is your first term.
My first time in these neat premises here, yes.
And first term as councillor.
First term as councillor, yes.
And what a debate.
It's a hot debate, 6 months in, absolutely.
Let's talk about the pros and cons of the two sides. How does it shake down for you?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons, obviously, to both. The hybrid people obviously have an interest in keeping traffic flowing, and they don't want to contribute to congestion by seeing the removal of the East Gardiner, which undeniably that would occur. Both sides agree with that. The remove people are talking, I mean, there's very intelligent people on both sides of the debate. And the remove constituency looks at the development of the lands down by the Keating Channel and Cherry Street and all that a boulevard option would afford, and they paint a very wonderful picture of a wide boulevard, tree-lined streets, patios and cafes and respectable residential and business development down there, some of which will happen with either choice that faces us.
Why are you finding it so difficult to make your decision on this?
It's difficult because the remove option that was presented before us talked about traffic delays in the context of having all of our traffic improvements. So we would have the downtown relief line, we would have smart tracks, we would have an LRT along the waterfront, all of that completed. So they made a number of assumptions. And so those may occur, but they may not occur for decades yet. So I think that to assume that will occur in that fashion is probably making a mistake. Now, the other side of the coin is they, of course, paint a gloomier picture of traffic congestion that will occur if we do take it down. So you hear that it's only affecting 3% of commuters coming in and out. It's only so many cars per day. We're only talking 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there. So there's a lot of numbers bandied about. But for me, part of the problem is that there's a lack of creativity. The hybrid option brings the arm of the roadway down as it is now. It's basically the same that what we have now, except the removal of the ramp to Logan Avenue.
And that term hybrid has been criticized as being a bit misleading for that reason.
It's existing minus one, really, is what it is.
Oh, interesting way to see it, yeah.
And so I think in my view, it's fairly satisfactory. And I would have preferred that they had taken that roadway farther north. The engineers provide the reasoning that you need a wider ramp so that cars have, they're going at a high rate of speed and they can then be accommodated easily up the Don Valley Parkway North. I pointed out that we have a number of off-ramps either from the 400 to the 401 or the 427 to the QEW that are fairly narrow turns.
It's very hard to picture this stuff on the radio. One of the things that has happened over the years that have led up to this debate is that a lot of architects, a lot of designers have been asked to weigh in on the options, and there've been so many thoughtful people who've had a run at this. There's a part of me that's inclined to think that either way, you could get something quite interesting that happens there. There's something to be lost in either case, right?
There is something to be lost, and there's something to be gained in either case.
Is that part of why it's so difficult for you?
And I think that no matter what happens, I think that there will be modifications to the final decision. So, for example, in the remove option, there's 4 traffic lights in place. I would like to see that reduced to 2 traffic lights, and maybe we have some underpasses and some ramping to eliminate those traffic lights. Some small cloverleafs so that cars can continue to flow. We don't tend to come up with very creative traffic solutions, and I think that in both cases we don't see a lot of creativity. It's a difficult choice. I know that what the staff will eventually do and what council will do will work out in the end. It's a question of which will work out best for the citizens of Toronto.
We mentioned this is your first term at City Council. What is it like now in the days leading up to this really important vote? The the pressure people are putting on you as one of the people who could swing the vote.
Listen, I don't feel any pressure.
No.
I know the way the mayor is going to vote. I know the way that some very intelligent people who are not even at city council are going to vote. I have a lot of respect for all of my colleagues on either side of this debate. So the only pressure is on that I want to make a decision that in 15 years from now I'm happy with, and I felt like I made the right decision.
Yes, because it's going to have a long-term impact
For decades.
What would it take to tip the scales?
Well, so I knew you were going to ask that, and so if I knew what was going to tip the scales, then I wouldn't have anything to tip the scales. I would already have the answer, right? So I've been down there a few times. I was down a couple of weeks ago with my office assistant. I was down on the tour. Yesterday I left. I went down Jarvis and turned opposite direction of my home.
Did it clarify or
well, it helps. It does help. And I think I'm going to go down as well on a morning rush hour. I'm going to try to do that Monday and Tuesday. This debate will cover our council scheduled for Wednesday, Thursday. I know we're going to go into Friday. This will be speechifying at its maximum down at City Council. I can guarantee you that.
In terms of the difficulty of making this choice, does this rank anywhere near the top in your life? Or
this is a pretty big decision. I mean, ultimately, listen, we are talking about a highway, right? So, I mean, you have to keep it in the reasonable context and keep your feet on the ground.
But a highway, that's defined the city.
Sure it has. It has defined the city, and the decision that's made will have implications for many, many people. It has implications for local residents, and it'll have implications for people who live in Toronto, and frankly, from beyond Toronto's boundaries, from Ajax, Pickering, and Markham. Those people drive into Toronto, too.
And it has implications if no decision can be reached.
Well, it's quite possible that council says the two options in front of us are not satisfactory. Nobody has talked about burying the roadway, as they have done in some places. There's been no discussion about a tunnel. And yet, you know what? When I mention that to some people, other councillors, they say, that's something we should have thought about,
Thank you, John. That's
nice to be here. Thank you, Mary.
Nice to meet you. City Councillor John Campbell, one of the few councillors who has not yet decided which option for the East Gardiner is best. Laurie is here with traffic.
Oh, and what a drive we've got right now. If you're heading out right now, please slow down with these rain showers. It is so slick out there, and we have new problems. Eastbound on the 401 at Morningside and the Collectors, 2 right lanes are blocked for the collision. Keep in mind, it is a heavy drive all the way from about the 410 through the left lane, and it's starting to jam up approaching Morningside in the Collectors. Past that, the eastbound 401 is pretty solid. Port Union to east of Lake Ridge. Problems on the westbound 401 approaching Warden and the Collectors finally cleared up, but your delays are from approaching Morningside all the way through to the 427. So you're looking at all the way from Scarborough all the way into Mississauga, and then it's jammed solid 410 out to James Snow. 2 left lanes blocked for the collision at that point. Now, if you are traveling on the northbound 400, it's jammed from the 401 to 16 Side Road, Highway 9 to Canal Road, and then approaching Innisfil Beach Road. Watch out for a stalled vehicle. It's blocking the right lane. I'll have more traffic in just a couple of minutes.
This is here and now at 99.1 in Edmonton West.
Liz Lockery is a 19-year-old classically trained vocalist. Nowadays, she performs a mix of pop and soul alongside Adrian X.